everyone, it's Devin. Welcome to An Emo Girl's Guide to the Galaxy, where we debate, rant, and curse too much. If you like books, sarcasm, and hate the patriarchy, then you've come to the right place.
Hi, it's Erin. I'm going to give us some updates from the book world. I think we've only got one we're talking about today. It comes out May 10th. It's called 24 Hours in Paris by, I'm definitely going to mess this up, Romi, Moondi. It's a rom-com, and a little blurb from Goodreads says, all bets are off in the City of Light, where life and love can change in less than a day.
Dramatic.
So, yes. But rom-coms are always good, so...
You can't go wrong. I'm Loretta, and I'm going to start our Around the Room updates with what we've been doing this week. Okay, one, in preparation for this episode, I read Hades, which is the first contemporary mythos book by Carly Spade, and I can talk about it later, but it was really fun and ridiculous and exactly what I needed. I already bought the second book, which is about Apollo. And Apollo's in a rock band, and he falls in love with Ballerina.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. I'm here for
that.
Can
you please share with everyone what the name of the rock band is?
Oh, Apollo and the Suns. Get it? But it's Sun.
It's so good.
Yeah.
How did I not know about this?
Apollo and the Suns.
It's a rock star.
He's in the Hades book too, and which leads into his book, and it's excellent. I love it. They're ridiculous, but in the best way. I also started a book called Asterion, which is a book that's about... it's in a series that I'm forgetting the name of now, but it's about... The premise is like, after the Greek War and the fall of Greek society or whatever, Hades rebuilt the city, and then that's where this series takes place, and it's about a different god each time. And Asterion is about Ariadne. How do you say it? Ariadne, and she's a badass assassin. I haven't finished it, but I started it, and it's great. Like, very dark urban fantasy-y.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
But I also discovered that a manga called Dickfied Island exists. and obviously I spent $6.50 on the Kindle book because I needed to know what that was.
Yeah. Also, I feel like everyone wants to know you've been giving updates over on our Twitter, right? Like, they can go to our Twitter and you're just like live tweeting all of your reactions.
It's on my personal Twitter, but I did tag us, so I can retweet it so people can find it. But I live tweeted it. Dickfied Island.
Like, let's sit with that for a second.
Dickfied Island. There's Dick Armor. I mean, that's the main thing.
The premise.
Do we need a premise? Is that enough?
Should I just leave it?
They also walk around with their butt cheeks hanging out. I think that's also
pants
an
aren't
important detail.
a thing. Yeah,
pants are not important, but dick armor is.
Yeah. How can they know how manly you are if your butt cheeks aren't out and your dick's not covered in armor?
Exactly. I mean, that's the question. This book takes place on an island, like, secluded, so they have, like, their own society, and there's different clans on the island, which is why they fight, because there's a king that that rules everybody, and so the dick fight is to decide who's going to be king for the next 4 years. And they judge manliness by...
so they only do dick fights every 4 years.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's like...
Okay.
It's like Hunger Games, but with dicks. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Everyone's ass is hanging out because they judge manliness on, like, how amazing your ass is. And then the premise of the battles is to get the dick armor off, and whoever comes first is the loser.
Quick question about this.
You can't even say that with, like, a normal face.
I can't.
Quick question. Are there women on this island?
Yes.
Or is this just, like, magical men reproducing island?
No, there's women. There's a clan that's predominantly, like, lesbians, too. Like, that's a thing. But they don't they only talk about the men. But women are there.
Because the men all know they would lose in a heartbeat if they were up against a woman. competition.
I could talk about a whole. I could
dick to fight.
break this down for a whole episode, but
we're gonna need an update next episode too.
There's a second one. I can read the second one.
Yes.
This is important literature. We need to know.
Anyway, who wants to go next?
I will go after your science episode. So I did not. I have some things that tie in, but not like that. I actually read on Erin's recommendation the Stay a Spell books by Juliet Cross. I read the first one and I was like, I have so many questions, but I immediately need to read the rest of these. So it's like the witch rom-com, but the werewolf, then there was a vampire, then there was another werewolf. I read all three, and there's another one coming out in June, you said, and then like 2 more next year, and I'm dying. I need to know what happens. Yes, love. Also, they get way Book 2 is way steamier than Book 1.
You've already surpassed me. I'm like still in the beginning of Book 2. I haven't.
I binged. I went straight through all 3 of them, and my brain is a pile of mush this last week. I've had just a lot going on the last couple of weeks, and I just binged them. And then I was trying to finish Breath of the Wild and still have not finished it because I'm sitting outside of the Yiga hideout just refusing to go in.
You can do it.
Pretending I don't know how to throw bananas.
Do it.
Every time you guys bring up Breath of the Wild stuff, I always want to replay it. I feel like after every conversation, I replay it. I'm like, cool.
Sorry. We need to not talk about it so Dev's life doesn't get taken over.
Sorry. Don't, Breath of the Wild 2 isn't even coming out till next year, so I'm, not even in a rush. I'm like, that's fine. I can just continue to
I'll procrastinate.
find shrines. And I am really good at procrastinating in that game. I've spent hours just riding around on different horses.
It's so fun, though.
You could collect all the armor. You could level everything up.
I've been collecting all the armor and trying to level up every single piece of armor. So that's... Yeah. I'm just, playing for the finisher only because I don't want to stop playing. Yeah. So I'm just, these stupid fairies.
That's
you could go and find all of the what are Koroks?
Yeah. Yes. I'm not going to be able to find all the Koroks.
God, there's 1,000.
I've gotten a good amount.
Literally.
I've gotten a really good amount of them. Okay, so that's me. Breath of the Wild, Zelda, go.
I finished The War of Two Queens finally.
Yay!
And I'm just out here to say to everybody who gave this book 1 star because of whatever reason, I am going to full force disagree with that because this book was so good and I'm so mad that so many people ruined it for me. I would have finished it so long ago. It's it's Jennifer Armentrout. It's what you would expect from her.
Exactly.
There is no emotional cheating. There is no... everything happened the way that I would have expected it to happen. And the last 3 chapters are so good. It's such an epic battle. And then the, cliffhanger at the end, what's going on?
I'm so excited to get into this.
It's so good. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And I'm sad that, once again, so many people had to ruin a good book. It was really good. And if you are a fan of JLA and if this is not your first series by her, you're gonna go in and read it and you're like, this is exactly what she... this is on brand for her.
It's how she
writes. It's how her stories go. Everything about it fits with her brand, so...
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but didn't I just tell you, if you've read JLA, you know that book 4 is when everything just explodes. That is every single time in her series. Book 4 is when, the world turns on its head and everything goes to shit and you're reading a completely different series than what you originally were at the first. Because that's just, makes her method.
But it makes sense for this series because she said that she's tying 2 different series into one.
Yeah.
So the timelines are going to converge. The timelines are going to cross. Mm-hmm. There are enough Easter eggs. There's enough setup and expectations met that it made sense for me. And what everybody was so upset about made sense. It happened exactly the way that it, in my mind, should have happened based off of it being set up since book 1.
The whole setup,
it's been talked about enough. They
literally set it up in book 1. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. And even with this book, like, yeah, it's book 4, and yeah, things get, like, crazy, but, like, I feel like even still, like, it fits with JLA, but it could have been way crazier, like, way more bonkers. Like, if you've read the Lux series, like, that one just completely goes off the rails. God. Like, this is much more like, it's still the same path we're traveling. Yeah. It's just getting crazier. I mean, Lux just takes a complete left turn, and you're like, where are we?
Yeah, it, like, explodes.
So, I felt like it was a tamer sort of in that. Yeah. But it was really good. Yeah, I was pissed that I read that.
This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. Leave JLA alone.
Covenant also goes completely off the rails in book 4. Like, Covenant goes completely nuts in book 4.
Yeah.
But, like, I also, okay, if anybody's read Zodiac Academy, and I know y'all haven't, but, like, if you've read Zodiac Academy, and you were okay with those, but not okay with this, then I have, like, questions. Because that series is like pulls a Twilight where it just like goes absolutely insane.
Yeah.
To me. But that was to me, so I don't know.
Yeah. If you disagree with me and Erin, cool, but no, I'm not changing my mind. Like, this book is good. Yeah. This book
and you lost.
And everyone needs to calm down, and I'm here to tell you, read War of Two Queens. It's good. You will not be disappointed. I'm gonna read it. And if you are disappointed, I don't want to hear about it, because it's good.
Just shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I'm going to read it and then not comment to you, because it makes me nervous, because Dev and I disagree so often. But
I don't think we will on this.
I'm set up to love it no matter what.
Yeah. The thing that everybody was upset about, I think all 4 of us will agree that it works.
And we already know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, main topic.
Erin, what are you up to?
Oh. What am I up to? You're right. I forgot about me. I'm so invested. Like you guys are saying.
You're so excited to get to the main topic today.
Well, actually, my about me kind of just slides right in, because the only thing I've been doing recently is I had to read a mythology book because, again, like our last episode, I have never read what we're talking about today. I didn't read Bridgerton, and I've never read a mythology book, so I read... unless I read it and didn't realize it was a mythology book. But I went out specifically looking for a mythology book for this episode, and I picked up A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair, and I really enjoyed it. So I've already downloaded the rest of that series, and I had a really good time with that. So
a convert.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel if I pick up some other mythology stuff.
I have the first 2 books of that series, and I need to read them.
Yeah. The first one that I picked up was Win, so that was a good thing for me. The reviews for book 2 are not great, but I think I'm just going to do it anyway and just
YOLO.
Do it.
Go in.
But it didn't really end on a cliffhanger for book 1, so if you wanted to just read the first book, you probably could. And then I also don't feel pressure that I have to like start the next book right now. I can kind of float around a little bit and come back to it, so that's kind of nice.
Nice.
Okay, now main topic time.
Our main topic this week is spicy mythology books. Yay. And just like, I think we're going to hit a lot of mythology. Some of mine aren't spicy, but could be, I don't know. It depends on your level of spicy.
Yeah. As a group,
and we're going to cover we're going to cover a lot of different mythologies. So like, mine aren't all just like traditional Greek mythology and what you would assume. I think a lot of them are, but there's also different ones. Like one of my favorite, what I consider mythology, which is a little bit that, is like the Darkfever series by Karen Moning, because in it, it's fae, but it's not like Akatar fae. It's like the traditional Tuatha, I don't know how to say that, Tadana, whatever. And it's like the traditional, like
Celtic
fae from Celtic folklore, and it's very sexy. They call them death by sex fae. So
yeah, because if you have sex with them, then you could become like a crazy person,
a slave. Like you become an addict, a literal addict.
Yeah.
I haven't read Darkfever, but I read that Highland, Beyond the Highland Mist, and the fae in Darkfever briefly make an appearance in that book, and they are very like godly.
It's like the traditional Celtic folklore and mythology type that it's based off of. So it's very modern day paranormal romance, but the Highlander books are like time travel.
Yeah, that's
it's chaos. But like Darkfever is more paranormal, but it's like a paranormal mystery with a very low underlying romance that builds over time. Mm-hmm. And the original series is 5 books, and then after that I haven't read. But it's like up to 19 books or something now, so I need to start reading it.
I need to go back. I actually, so for counting that one,
it might be 10
I've
books.
read that book.
I don't know.
But that series, the first 5, but I want to go back and
so good.
read the rest. It is good.
I actually think Dev, you and Loretta would really enjoy that series.
Yeah.
I will add it to my list.
It's a slow burn. There's like trying to figure out who killed my sister. She travels to Ireland, and then there's like this seedy underworld where she sees like absolutely terrifying fae. And like they are ugly, crazy monsters.
I love the thing
like,
that she makes. Yeah. The like Mac thing. What is she called?
My gosh.
The Mac 3000 or something, so that she can
a headlamp.
Yeah, you can't even explain it without
because
you don't know what's happening in it. But she makes this whole contraption.
Tapes flashlights to her head to make a Mac helmet. It's spectacular.
Yeah, so she can like be in the dark but like see all around her.
I love that.
So funny and so good. And there's like just old folklore creatures from like chaos. They're like the unseelie, seelie situation. Yeah. And I feel like that is very authentically mythological and folklore-y to me. So
I will say, because you mentioned Court of Thorns and Roses, that series, while it doesn't have gods and goddesses in it, is based off of Hades and Persephone, right? There's like, she always leans in heavily to mythology when writing her stories. So if you want something that is inspired by mythology, but doesn't necessarily have the gods and goddesses in it, that's still a good series to read too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she, like, Crescent City has so much Old Norse and...
I was just gonna say.
mythology in there, and a lot of the names and things. And then, like, I mean, obviously the Morrigan is Celtic mythology, so she's literally named the Morrigan.
Yeah.
From Celtic mythology. So there's that.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention one book that I've read, or a series that I read that I kind of just belatedly realized was mythology, sort of, was the Guild series. I don't think you guys have read it, right?
I have not. I've heard about
the first book, but I haven't.
I started that book a while ago. I don't know why I thought it was like more contemporary romancy, like happily ever after guaranteed at the end. I don't know, but it's definitely not like that.
TikTok.
It's
TikTok.
Trigger warning. It's very like trigger warning for physical abuse and emotional abuse, and it's really like focused on the main character's character arc. So like she's been brainwashed to love this guy because it's all she's ever known, and it's about her going out and discovering like, oh wow, he's treating me like shit, and like finding out who she is and stuff. So it was kind of rough in the beginning. I was like, wow, this is different, but it's really good, and it's the book 4. I thought it was a completed series, and it is not, and it ends on a cliffhanger, and I was so pissed. I was like, damn it.
Oh no.
But book 4 comes out at the end of May.
And what?
It's like King Midas?
I was gonna say, what myth is this based off of?
It's based off of King Midas. So the guy who keeps her can like turn shit into gold by touching it. I mean, he's a big asshole.
He's a big asshole.
So, I hate him so much.
We hate him.
We hate him. But yeah,
what's the deal with the King Midas thing? Like anytime he touches things, he turns into gold, so he can't touch things, or it's like he can choose.
He can choose. He can. Okay. I believe it's been a while. But
I think it depends on which version of his story that you read. But
in the Guild series, he can control it. It's like a power.
I think in like the actual story, it's a curse that's bestowed upon him because he's greedy, and then he ends up turning everybody into gold.
He like turns everything. People into gold. Yes, and then he was like, "Oh no, this is terrible." And then I've seen that version from the Muppets.
Oh my god, I know what you mean.
Muppets Classic Theater, and they do like a bunch of little skits of like the different ones.
I saw
they do like a King Midas one. And then he just like, I think Kermit starts like turning people into gold on accident.
I love that your brain went to Kermit because my brain went to Dick Fight Island and was like, if you turn things into gold.
And then my brain went to Percy Jackson. So
This is where we are on the spectrum.
I will get the non-spicy Muppets recommendations out of the way for everybody, because I have a lot since I just read everything. But if you haven't read Percy Jackson, obviously, like, that is the main mythology series that is very popular amongst readers. It is
so good.
Based off of Greek mythology by Rick Riordan. And then he also has a bunch of spin-off series. So he has one for Norse mythology, which is the Magnus Chase series, and then Heroes of Olympus is like a continuation of Percy Jackson, and that's Roman and Greek mythology. And then he also has the Trials of Apollo. So Apollo is like the main character in those, but he's turned into like a teenage human. And then he also wrote the Kane Chronicles. So if you're interested in like Egyptian mythology, that's a trilogy. And also he has his own imprint now. So for anybody who's looking for like adventure stories, Rick Riordan has an imprint under Disney Publishing called Riordan Reads. And all they publish are mythology and folklore stories from own voices. So there are the Stormrunner series, which I personally love because they're based in Mexican folklore and like Aztec and Maya mythology. And it's a story about a little brown boy who goes and finds out he's like a demigod. And I'm like, these are my people. And then Arusha is Hindu mythology. And I think it's written by the same girl that you have on your list, Jess, by Roshni Chokshi, right?
Yeah. The Star-Touched Queen is the one that I have on my list because it's a Hades and Persephone.
She does a lot of mythology stuff, so that's more like if you don't want spice or if you're looking for something that's just fun. And then
mine has spice. It's just sexy.
Yes.
It's just like got a good atmosphere.
And then my last one on the non-spicy list is Paula Santiago, which is based off of La Llorona. So it is...
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's not super scary, but they're fun. And I don't think that series is finished yet, but I had to put it on here since it's folklore, but I grew up on that story. Like, you grow up hearing from your parents, like, oh, don't be bad, La Llorona's gonna come and, like, get you at night, and you're like, what? And for those who don't know, it's a lady. So La Llorona, the basic story is she killed her own kids and she drowned them in a river, depending on the story you hear. And so she drowns them, dies, and haunts the world crying out for her kids. And they say like, oh, if she hears you crying or if she hears, she's gonna snatch you up. And they say that she looks for little kids, and that's like the basic story of it. I want to say there are a few movies based off of this story too, but I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. But yeah, that's Mexican folklore for y'all.
I'm white as shit, but I grew up in New Mexico, in northern New Mexico, and my friends are very Mexican heritage and like speak Spanish only in the households and stuff. And so I got dosed with that by my friend's parents. I was like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? And I went to tell my mom, and she's like, yeah, scary stories, kid. Get over it. I'm like, okay, Mom.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But those are my non-spicy mythology recs, and we will get back to our PG-13 R-rated content now.
So I have a couple of, like, I can't remember if they're spicy or not, and, like, that's ridiculous. But so Madeline Miller did Circe and Song of Achilles, and I know you've probably, like, seen them all over the place. They're so good. They're so good. So Circe's like the witch that was like pushed to her own island, and she like has affairs with only people who like randomly come to her island. So like she has this whole affair with Daedalus, the guy who made the wings and his kid died or whatever.
And the maze.
Like she has all these crazy affairs with people who just like randomly land on her island because she's been punished there because she has too much power. And so it's just this whole ordeal. But it's a really pretty book. And then Song of Achilles is obviously Achilles and Patroclus, and I love that. That's the most romantic. I cried my eyes out. I've read the Iliad. I don't know how many times. It's one of my favorite books. I don't know why, but I lost it.
I'm scared of that book because everyone's
so
like,
good.
I cried so much.
Yeah, everybody says
you know what's good. Well, but I was like, how are they going to make this like powerful? Because I know the story. I know how it ends, like, obviously, but it's so good. And they bring Briaces in with that whole storyline. Like, the whole deal is in there. It's just so romantic and one of the best. Like, oh, it's so good. I cried thinking, but it's you got to read it.
I got that.
You just have to.
From there's like this bookstore that I like to go to, like a local bookstore in Asheville, North Carolina, and they have, and other local bookstores will do this, like certain small places, but they do those like blind date books. So their books are like wrapped up in just like brown paper, and then there's like a descriptive words on it, and then you just like pick it up based on that. So I did that. That's just like so fun, but I kind of regretted it because I ended up with all these books that I was like, I probably am not going to read or like not for a long time. But that was one of the ones that I got, and the word romance was in it, so that pulled me to buying it.
It's so romantic.
But I'm like I said, I've never really read much mythology, and then all these people were saying, oh, it's like heart wrenching, it's gonna make you cry, and I was like, I don't think this is for me. So it's just been on my shelf for so long, and I don't think I can do it.
I own it and I stare at it like I need to read you.
I don't think I can do it.
That's one of those. So because I was an English major in college, and I had to take an entire semester of just Greek mythology. So there's part of me that's just like, I gotta see. I see this book floating around. I've got to read it. I love the Iliad. One of my favorite. I don't know why I like the Iliad so much. The Odyssey sucks. Love the Iliad. I don't know. But it's just one of those things that like resonates with me from when I was younger. So I was like, I gotta read this, and then
so I have to tell, I had to do some Greek mythology stuff in high school, which is super weird. Like during one of my English
we did too.
years.
Yeah, we did too.
I think we did. I know we at least did the Odyssey. Honestly, I didn't pay attention to any of that stuff. I just blanked it all out. But I remember this was like so vivid in my head. There was a girl in my class, and we had to do like some breakout session during one of our Greek mythology lessons, and she like comes up to me and she's so serious, and she's like, wait, so like these gods and stuff, like, is this real? And I was like, what? I was like, it's called Greek mythology. I was like, I don't even know what's happening. I was like, I have to walk away from you. Like, what? Is it real? Do you think our English class is telling us that like Zeus is up there right now? Like, I don't have your own religious beliefs, but I don't think they're telling us this is real.
You can go and believe it if you want.
Research that.
So weird. I was like, what? What is happening right now?
Okay.
Yeah, we also had
Should
to
have
do
been like, yes.
mythology stuff in like middle school. And I remember having to make like what are they called? Cards.
Diorama.
No, we made cards.
No?
Like, what are they called? Trading cards. Trading cards where we had to draw the gods on one side, and then on the other side, like, explain who they were and what they did. And that just started my obsession with, like, everything mythology.
Collecting facts about everything.
The Mummy, can we just talk about why that's one of the best movies ever?
The Mummy.
I love The Mummy.
I will not be taking questions.
I don't know who's hotter.
The Mummy's the best.
Have you seen that? Have you guys seen that TikTok of the woman who's like, smash, 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 smash?
I saw one where she was like, there's no, like,
there's not an unattractive person.
Yeah, where she was like, there's no, like, path. It's like, whatever she does, where she's like the queer path or the bi path, or like, whoever you liked at this age is like who you're gonna like later, or what that means for your sexuality.
There's no path.
She's like, no, you're gonna like everybody equally. They're all amazing. There's no way.
Literally everyone. It's good.
No lies.
Yeah.
You're going to be very confused by the end, that's all. And it's okay, because we all were.
Let it wash over you.
So I feel like any mythology content that I take in, I'm either not really realizing it's mythology because I don't have a great foundation in it, or I do, but I just like don't know much about it. So I'm mostly just taking like whatever the media is, and I'm taking like whatever they're giving me. That's all I'm really coming away with. Do you guys feel like having more of a background and like knowing these gods ahead of like different retellings of these stories is more enjoyable for you, or do you kind of treat them like separate things?
I think anybody can enjoy the story if they're into whatever the main plot is. So, like, for example, Kingmaker Chronicles, right? Which I feel like we all read.
I haven't yet.
Okay. Loretta, have you read Kingmaker Chronicles? Okay, so that main storyline is not about the gods or the goddesses at all. It's just about a prophecy, and the gods come in at some points. Like, they're just kind of on the outskirts. But it's still a good story, and you can still say that it's based on Greek mythology, because they are in that realm. But the story is mostly, hey, this girl is meant to make me king, I'm gonna go and kidnap her, and everybody wants to find her, and then there's romance and fighting and a mother-daughter hate-love relationship, and there's so much other stuff that happens that make it really good.
So do you feel like, since you already know, like, some of the history of some of these gods, like, when you see them appear in different series, like, that's fun for you to be like, oh, this is a different version of this god, I like that portrayal, or like, no, that doesn't fit who this god really is, like, why are they doing this in this series?
Yeah, I think so. I like the different portrayals, and I think that only somebody who, like, kind of has insight would notice the differences, but I don't think that it's something that hinders readers when they're reading it.
I feel like it's such a case by, for me anyway, it's such a case by case basis. Like, when I read Kingmaker Chronicles, I wasn't really focusing on the god stuff at all. And I was just there to enjoy the story. But, like, for Song of Achilles, something I know is about a specific, like, myth and stuff. Part of the reason I haven't read that yet is because I want to go and read about them first, because I don't know anything about who it's about. So I have that knowledge when I read it. But, I mean, I feel like it's so, like, come and go. Like, it depends on the story. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, like, I just started to read Ariadne, by Jennifer Saint. And it's good. I only read like a chapter and a half because I was going to read it for this, and then I just played Breath of the Wild. So I started it, and it's about like Ariadne, whose brother is the Minotaur in Crete. Her dad is King Minos, who is like literally evil, just like trying to murder everybody. And he's like, I'm gonna go and get mad at you because my son died on your island. You weren't even responsible, but I'm gonna go murder you. And he goes by an island and he's like, oh, I'm gonna demolish these guys on the way for funsies. So like, that's the kind of thing. But in that storyline, it's told from like this feminist perspective, kind of, where it's like trying to say, look at the women that were a part of this and like bring them back. So the gods in there, even like Athena, are more vengeful. Whereas in Kingmaker Chronicles, you've got Poseidon being her sponsor and is like giving her things to like survive. And he's like, oh, hold on, here's this tool you might need. And he doesn't even really pop in. It's like in a fever dream. She like gets messages and stuff from him. So it's kind of fun to see those different types of sides of things to where you're getting like the vengeful, like, look at how fucked up this is, versus the, like, I'm your sponsor. And like, it's just fun to see those different types for me.
Yeah.
I don't know that having any history in it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the book that I picked up was A Touch of Darkness, and it's a Hades and Persephone story. And I did like a tiny bit of Googling about them before I picked it up because I was like, maybe I should know something. But I just don't really know anything about any of them. So for me, it was just like, these could have been random people mostly, like, and I was just reading their story. So I didn't have any
you still enjoyed it, right?
Yeah,
like,
I had a great time with it.
Yeah, I think that what the difference is that if you're not a mythology lover and you pick up something and you don't really know what's going on, you can still enjoy the story. Yeah. But if you are, you have those extra pieces of information to like level up your experience, right? Like you're going to pick up on the Easter eggs that are based off of the original story. Or you're going to say, oh yeah, this is like subtly different than this version that I've read. But it's not necessarily going to take away from your experience. It might just like add to it, right? And you can see all of these different versions.
That reminds me too, that description reminds me, I was going to bring up anyway, Lore Olympus by Rachel.
Yes, I love Lore Olympus!
Rachel Smith. It's a web comic, and you can go, she's still making updates on it, so if you want to go on the Webtoon app and like read it, you can like binge the whole thing. There's so many episodes, but she does have graphic novels out of part of what's been made.
I have the first volume.
Yeah. It doesn't get
so
as far as you can in the Webtoon app, but you can still go and like buy a physical copy. Anyway, she covers so many different gods and goddesses, and I read that not having, like, I know the big ones, I know the big stories, kind of, but I don't know about, like, some of the other outskirt gods, and she uses so many, I had to Google so much stuff, because it's so much, for me, it's so much more fun to, like, especially, she ties it into modern day, so it's Hades and Persephone in modern day society, and it's so much more fun to see those, like, little Easter egg pomegranates or whatever hanging around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that kind of stuff.
I think it also depends on whether the gods and goddesses and the characters are the main characters in the retelling versus if it's just taken as inspiration. Like,
that's true, yeah.
Court of Thorns and Roses is a retelling of Hades and Persephone, and if you know that story, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Versus if it's actually Hades and Persephone as the main characters, and they're doing everything that they do in the main story just in a modern setting. Or,
or not doing it, like doing barely it. So then the one that I read, it literally the characters were Hades and Persephone's, and it's like an urban fantasy. So like they are gods and they have like god powers, but then they're like she's like going to university and like she's just living her life, going to get, you know, texting people and getting a latte, like that kind of life. But then she's like, oh, now I'm hanging out in the underworld with Hades doing this.
Yeah.
That's how mine was, too.
And he owns like nightclubs and like, I don't know. It was fun for me. Like I really enjoyed it.
I'm upset. I need to read this.
But I truly had like going in, I'm like, I don't know really how Hades and Persephone's are. I don't really know anything about how this is supposed to be. So it was just like as if these were brand new fantasy characters for me. But I had so much fun, and it is spicy. It is very spicy. There's a lot of like enemies to lovers, like tension. Like he gets her into like I'm sure you guys know more about this than I do, but like he gets her into a contract, and then she's like, "No, I hate you." But then it's like, "But I want to touch your body," and it was so good.
Yeah. I've also heard in the same realm of that Neon Gods is really good, which is also an entire series. I haven't read it yet. It's on my list because everybody talks about how good that series is.
Yeah.
But I recommend looking into that series because if you liked the Touch of Darkness modern retelling of that, I believe Neon Gods is in that same realm.
I think so too. And I think that's me. I've never read a like modern day where it's actually the gods, like in that perspective where it's like a romance in like wandering around New York City, but I'm just, you know, god of the underworld style. All of my mythology books, and I'm curious as to whether or not I would like it, honestly, because all of the mythology books that I've kind of read are all either set in a fantasy world, like the Curse of the Gods. They're not even the specific Greek gods, but it's set in a fantasy world, and they are gods in different levels, like ones of pain and ones of lust and whatever type of stuff. But I haven't read any like
the Covenant,
modern day.
Covenant and Titan are modern day.
But okay, so Titan is, but it's not exactly the same, right? Like they're demigods and stuff, and down below, so it's not like Zeus is walking around having a romance with somebody. I mean,
I guess,
so he's doing whatever. But like that's what I'm like in that perspective where it's like that romance specific type book with adults. I have never read that, and I'm not even sure if I would like it. Because I kind of like the mystical factor.
I think you might, though. And then the one that I just read, The Touch of Darkness, so, like, it's that urban, modern setting, but then it's also, like, everyone knows about the gods, but they're, like, celebrities, basically. Like, they have, like, gossip magazines that are, like, written about them, and everyone's like, oh my god, like, you're going to
like that
Hades
too.
nightclub, and then they, like, have these events, and then they're, like, on the red carpet, and people are, like, you know, like, they have, like, what were they wearing? That's amazing. And then, like, who's on their arm? And, like, treating them like it was, like, really, really fun. And maybe if you're a big mythology
I will read this, but I am skeptical, but I will read it.
Maybe it's too silly if you're deep into mythology.
I think I would enjoy, and I don't know if I've read any of these.
I gotta take myself out of it.
I would enjoy this, I believe, and I don't know if I've read them, but where there's like a main character who doesn't believe that their gods are real, and the gods are just so like walking around and doing whatever, and then they meet up and they're like, I'm Hades, and they're like, you actually exist.
That was
like,
literally the book I just read. I have to talk about
this. Loretta's about to scream. I can see her flailing
because
her arms.
I feel like that's the different, or like, if they exist in a world where they've been alive forever, right? So they're gods, and they've lived forever, and they've already done all their good stuff, all their things, they've killed all the monsters, whatever. And then they, like, fast forward to present day time, and they're actually existing, and you're like, oh, you just live with mortals now, that's cool. Like, I'm gonna go to the Hollywood sign and just, like, enter into the underworld and chill with Hades, whatever it is.
So the book I just read was a romance, and it's literally kind of the opposite of what Aaron read, because it was ridiculous because the gods exist and they are like the gods. There's like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, and they're just like they're regular, like they're how you think of them, but they have the ability to go to like the human realm whenever they want, and like they have these human personas. Like when they get bored, they're like Zeus. He likes to. He's a criminal defense lawyer, like for funsies. He's like, I got bored, so I'm a criminal defense lawyer now.
I would vibe with that. That sounds like what I would do if I were a god.
He goes by the name Zane, so they all have like human. They all have like human names. And, like, human faces. So, like, I want to talk about this, too, because they have, like, a godly form. And then when they go to the human surface, they have to put on their, like, what is it called? You know,
glamour.
Glamour, thank you. They have to put on their human glamour. So the book I read is about this woman who works in digital forensics, and then she's a workaholic, so her friend's like, we need a vacation, so they go to Greece. And they're on this vacation, and Hades just got dumped by Persephone, and Zeus made, I mean, you don't know this until later, but Zeus made him take a vacation. He's like, you need to get your shit together. Please take a vacation. So she meets him, and he's like, hey, I'm Hades. Like, he just tells, like, he's the only one that doesn't have a name. He just tells her that he's Hades. And then they, like, go along with it. They, like, seriously call him Hades, and no one thinks it's weird. I was like, no one's questioning this at all.
I love this.
And then he, like,
this is the contemporary mythos one, right? That's the series we're talking about? Okay.
Spade. Yeah. And then he, they fall in love, and then he has to do the Twilight thing where he's like, no, I'm a god, and I have to make you realize I'm a god. And then she's like, what?
This is who I am.
I know what you are.
Okay. I'm here for this.
He brings her into the underworld, and they have a sex scene, and he's in his godly form, and it was so weird. I was like, what? He's like super pale, and he has fake ears, but what got me was that he has white eyes. So they'd be like having sex, and then she'd reference his white eyes, and that would take me out of it. I'd be like, what? And I guess his hair floats or something?
There's absolutely nothing about that I want to be a part of. I'm going to be honest with you. I was on board, but now I'm no longer on board with that at all.
The Touch of Darkness that I just read, they also have like a god form that they glamour in front of people typically. I mean, the ones that are like out and celebrities, like when they go out and about, they're there. But they have horns. And I wanted to ask you guys, it sounds like that's probably not typical for what's happening with these gods. Do they have horns? Like, they all have horns.
I don't think.
And they're all different types of horns, and
it's really
interesting.
Weird.
Persephone in this book.
I'm still gonna read it. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, Persephone is like hiding as immortal in this book, so no one knows that she exists. So she like has to hide her horns all the time.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's where I have a harder time with my history of.
That's what I was wondering,
because I'm just like, it's taking me. I would have to read it because. So for me, the archetype storyline is good. Like the Akatar, it's the storyline, but like not.
Yeah.
Or making up your own mythology, like Curse of the Gods series by Jaime Eve and Jane Washington. They made up their own god system.
That series is hilarious, by the way.
It's absolutely. You have to read that. It's so good. The spicy is good. It's a reverse harem, so be careful if you don't like those. But I think that I would I think I would struggle with these. I'm going to read both of these books.
Yeah.
Because I have to find out.
It's hilarious.
But my brain is struggling with it a bit because I have also just like taken mythology and stuck it into this category of this class that I took in college and like my degree and analyzing and going through and memorizing things. So pulling it out of there. I had no issue with Covenant and Titan though. Covenant and Titan was...
Yeah, I was going to say we should talk about that.
And Kingmaker, like... Too. Covenant, so in Covenant, and Titan is the like series after Covenant. It's the new adult that takes place adjacent and after. In Covenant, there are gods that do not come down often at all, just occasionally. Then there are like
demigods,
godlike and demigods, and then halflings essentially, like the mortals that are their mom was a god or a demigod. And their dad was a human or something. And so, like, they're the protectors and the sentinels and they're training, or they're, like, slaves. So they're either, like, servants that are given this crazy slave drug, or they're, like, the protectors of the demigods. And they're all in this like academy style situation. So they're like on this campus and they're learning through this. And then the gods interfere when they feel like it. But the weird thing about that one is that like the demigods can get scratched or bit by something. And then they go crazy and they turn into like basically vampires. It's a strange.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the Covenant
Yeah, I
series is
forgot
by
about that.
Jennifer
I just
L.
forgot about it.
Armentrout, and it's if you're into demigods and gods and all kinds of wild stories that we know she is known to
It's
tell,
really
read that. And then that one is more YA. And then
Yeah.
Titans is a spin-off series, and that's an adult series. And that I feel like Titans leans more into the actual like mythology of it and the gods and what the main problem of that series is. I think is more focused with the gods and stuff like that. But I enjoyed both of them.
I read the first Covenant
they're
book
really
and it was good.
Yeah, Covenant gets wild. Like that's one of her series where you get to a point and you're like, wait, what?
I don't know. It goes so far off the rails in book 4, and that's where I, like, in my brain somewhere, I just went, when you get into later books in JLA series, it's gonna go off the rails.
Yeah.
Just be prepared. So when everybody was all freaking out about From Blood and Ash, I was like, y'all haven't read a JLA book before.
Yeah, you can tell.
Because she always goes off the rails. Like, that's just
Covenant
on par for
is
her.
the Greek mythology version of Lux. So Lux is alien, and then if you want the same vibe of crazy, you read Covenant.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Greek
It's
mythology.
a good vibe of crazy. I really enjoyed Covenant more than Lux for me.
I also have my own question for this because I'm reading this book called The North Wind. And it is I didn't realize who the main characters were, but the main character is Boreas, who is literally the North Wind. He is like the god of the North Wind. And the storyline is like him and his brothers, who are the other winds, get banished and they go into their own territories and they have their own like powers based off of what their windly god duties are. But I was actually kind of shocked and surprised that the author chose that god to do a story on because he's not as well known. So my question was like, how do you feel if you have read any of these more unknown gods and goddesses? Like Loretta, you brought this up for Lore Olympus. Like, I kind of I like it because it's refreshing. It's like a new tale with a new god who's not really well known, and you're like, okay, I can do this versus Zeus and Hades Persephone. Like, everybody tells that story.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I like it so far. I'm like 200 pages in. It's a romantasy book. I don't know if they're spice yet. It's an enemies to lovers book, and it's very like Court of Thorns and Roses. She is a hunter because she's protecting her sister, her twin sister. Her personality, her name is Ren. Her personality is very much Katniss meets Feyre meets Nesta. She is like a drunk bitch who is like literally that's her personality, and she switches places with her twin sister because the wind Boreas picks the twin sister to be his bride or his sacrifice or whatever, and she's like, no one's gonna know, so she like wraps her face up so you can only see her eyes, and he takes her instead. And then when they get back, he's like, you, and she's like, surprise! Literally, she smiles at him and she's like, surprise! And it's a whole thing, and I'm obsessed with it, but I'm like, I don't know where this is going because I don't have any information on Boreas. Like, I don't know anything about the North Wind, but I'm here for it, so I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fun because you don't know, so that would actually be way more entertaining.
I love it in Lore Olympus too because it forced me, like, I'm going to Google all these other gods that I don't know about, and it forces me to, like, learn some stuff, so I kind of like it.
Okay, I'm here for it too. If anybody has any recommendations on some of the more minor gods and goddesses, let us know.
Yeah, I love it.
You guys need to read Lore Olympus because it's so good.
Yeah, I'm interested. It's a webcomic?
Yeah, you can also get volumes. I'm not sure if there's 1 or 2 actual physical copies out, but you can buy the physical comics
is that
from
the
like Barnes and
one
Noble.
where
Whatever.
Hades is like blue and Persephone's is pink?
Yes. Yeah. And Apollo is a huge douchebag.
Oh my god. And so is Zeus. I want to kill him. Oh my god, I hate him.
Zeus is always a douchebag. Zeus will forever be a douchebag. He's just like, that's his whole vibe, right? Like, the dude was like, I want to get this lady pregnant, and she was locked in a thing, so he came down in a golden rain.
Aren't they all kind of douchey? Like the real actual story?
All of them.
All of them.
Every
single one of them.
Kill and rape and curse, and they're all kind of just dicks.
It's all incestuous.
Absolutely. All of them are terrible.
Speaking of terrible gods, so not book related, but for anybody who is interested in video games, we all played Phoenix Rising. And Phoenix Rising is, true. But I started it because Jess and Loretta were like, you need to get this.
Yeah. So funny.
I love it. It's so good.
The main character is a demigod, and the story is being told by Zeus and I don't know, Prometheus and Zeus, and all of the conversations that they have are basically making fun of the fact that Zeus is a douchebag. Like,
all of them.
Like, it's so good. So if you're looking for games based off of mythology, Phoenix Rising is a good one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. It's so good.
My other foray into mythology would be Disney's Hercules. That's my other
a classic
information that
Yeah.
Absolutely. Who puts the Glad in Gladiator?
Yeah. He goes the distance.
That soundtrack slaps.
It does.
It does.
It's one of the best Disney soundtracks that exists.
And,
one of the best.
And it started my love for Hermes. So I know very little about him, but I know what I know is from that. And then Hermes was in The Touch of Darkness, and just the little things I know about Hermes. I love him.
Hermes is in Phoenix Rising, the game, quite a bit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's the trickster god.
Yeah, that's why I like him.
But depending on the story, again, you get different versions of him. So if you're reading Percy Jackson, Hermes is also kind of a douche. Like, they all have their
douchiness.
Hermes is in Circe as like her longtime lover, because he would just like come visit randomly and stuff, I think.
Interesting.
I might be wrong. I read it a few years ago, but I feel like that definitely happened. Yep.
I haven't read it, but
he like comes back and forth, and she's a witch, and she's finally just like, dude, you gotta go.
We couldn't have a mythology episode either without me shouting out the Loki TV show, because I'm obsessed with that TV show. And I love Loki so much. And that's all I'll say, but
going off of Norse mythology, so I haven't read it yet, but I have it on my shelf because the author of Laini Taylor, the author of Daughter of a Spoken Bone, recommended a book called Odin's Child. And Odin's Child is based off of Norse mythology, and I believe that it wasn't originally written in English. It was like the author is, I don't know, they're not American, they're not English, it's like Romanian or something, and it was translated into English, and so when it came out, I got it, and I haven't read it yet, but Laini Taylor is amazing, and if she says it's good, then I'm gonna believe it, and so I'm gonna tell everybody to go look it up.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I trust her.
I want to look it up.
I think the other one that I talked about really quickly but didn't like actually discuss was The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi. I can't pronounce that. So I want to say it's a Hades and Persephone, but I actually think it's probably not. It's probably, I need to look into it. Because she did Arusha, right?
Yes.
So she's Hindu, and it's set in a mythical world, but I feel like it's probably, you know how mythology expands the same story type line?
Yeah.
So it's the death god, and then she goes in, and it's a duology, actually, and I have not read the second one, which I need to. But it doesn't have, like, spicy in it, but it is just so beautiful and mystical, and, like, if you like to read books that are just super atmospheric and just, like, fever dream, then it's a really good one to read. And it's just fun, and you're like, what's going to happen, and what's happening here? Loretta, I think you'll like it. Like, if you liked Cruel Beauty and that vibe, you're going to like this one.
I was just thinking about that when you were describing it.
So pretty. Oh, it's such a good book. I don't know why people hate it so much. It's weird. It's so good.
I'm here for that. Cruel Beauty is kind of in that. I don't know. He's like a god, like kind of.
He's a god. He's like a demon god type.
Like a trickster.
It's very unclear.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cruel Beauty is good though. Either way,
really good. I'll read Cruel Beauty. There's just the weirdest house ever. You know what that house reminds me of? Is that show that came on as like a mini series on NBC when I was a kid called Rose Red.
Yes.
Do you guys remember this horror show? It's like horror. Okay. And it's like
I
this
vaguely
creepy
remember
house
this.
that comes to life and is... Look it up, Dev. You'd probably like it.
I would probably like that, yeah.
I don't even remember all of it. I just remember it was being really creepy, and I was a child and was like, why am I watching this? This is terrifying. And it's probably not even that scary, but I don't do scary well, so. Or it's super scary, and I just had no idea.
I used to think Are You Afraid of the Dark is scary, so.
I love Are You
too.
Afraid of the
It
Dark.
was on NBC at night, so how scary is it if it was on NBC at night? Probably not that scary.
So if we're talking about shows too, I'm gonna throw out Supernatural. I know it's a popular one, but
obsessed.
The way that they weave in like
all religious
based stories that everybody knows with the mythology, with the lore, with the monsters, like I love the storytelling in that show. So.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I love Supernatural so much. It's like the one of the only like media that I love so much that like really doesn't have romance in it. And I'm like, we don't even need it. This is so good. Just like how it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a story of two brothers. I did too. It's so good.
I was just thinking about that recently.
It.
Like, remember when we watched the end of that and then I sobbed and was depressed for 3 days after the
I do remember that.
Yeah. And again, this is why we can't have nice things, because the fandom was also upset about that ending. And I'm like, can we just not? Can we just enjoy the fact that this is over after 15 seasons and we have an ending? Thank you.
I need to finish. I got halfway.
Something.
They always have to ruin.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone has to ruin everything nice. It was good.
All right. So, are we ready to do a weird little game thing?
Always.
Okay. So, again, not a super game type thing, but we're going to do some fan casting. So, we're going to say a god or goddess, and then we're going to fan cast them, like if we wanted somebody to play them in the movie or the show or whatever. Like, who would you want?
Okay.
Ready?
Good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are we okay with that?
Well, I might not know all these gods, so...
Okay, we'll start with an easy one, which is Ares, the Greek god of war. And I don't know all of these because we picked some random ones, so we're just going to come up with who's going to be Ares, who's going to be just like the biggest douchebag running around, just trying to stab people and start fights all over the place. Because I don't know exactly who it is, but I'm picturing like an affliction shirt and some frosted tips.
Like Guy Fieri.
Maybe Guy Fieri. I don't know. I think Guy Fieri is too like lovable, but we need affliction. We need like the studded jeans. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe somebody from like Jersey Shore.
Joe Rogan.
He's bald.
You said frosted tips, and it
doesn't have to be hot.
You said frosted tips, and it made me think of the singer from Zetas Lapidus. Who's that guy?
No,
Zoom.
Yes, Supernova Girl.
Supernova Girl.
Oh. It starts with a P, doesn't it?
We have to know. I have to know. Oh my gosh. Protozoa!
Yeah.
I was like, it's in there.
Guys.
Yes.
I don't know if he's right for Aries, but that's what I was going to say, frosted tips.
He feels very Apollo to me. I don't know.
Yeah. That's
He's
true.
He's very sun-god-y.
Yeah.
I'm going to go... my brain says Joe Rogan as Aries.
Gerard Butler.
That would be good.
Oh, that would work too.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill's for all of them, though.
Yeah,
Henry Cavill works in every situation.
Can do all of it.
God, I am obsessed with that man. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's unhealthy.
It's reasonable.
Why would he do this to us?
Okay.
Why would he exist?
How dare you?
Right. How dare you?
And thank you also.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have to like specifically fan cast, but if we just come up with a general vibe too. Like if they were running around in modern day.
Yes.
Frosted
there you
tips.
go, right? Like just fun stuff.
A shirt that's two sizes too small.
Always. Okay, let's go to the Morrigan, Irish goddess of death, destiny, and battle. Used to be or could be known as like a trio of sisters that's all in one goddess, kind of like the Mother Maiden Crone type vibe or whatever. But yeah. Also, the Morrigan is in ACOTAR, so
I know that's
she's the goddess of beauty and of war, so like she's the ultimate in
I
battle.
feel like Beyonce,
and also very pretty. What?
Beyonce?
I mean, that works. That does work.
Yeah.
Just like
That's
she's fierce.
Destiny. Fierce as hell. And the hair. Yeah, for sure.
Destiny's
I
Child
like it.
for the sisters.
Yeah,
There you
that
go.
works.
But after they lost the fourth one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the three.
I
that's so
forget
funny.
about that there was.
I do too.
There was four at some point. I can't even remember the fourth one's name. I just know Michelle Kelly and Beyonce.
Me too.
What was the fourth one's name?
The fourth one?
Why do I feel like Harry Styles would also work for this? I just
that is absolutely correct. I believe
Yeah,
that Harry
that's
Styles
the right
Morgan.
answer.
yeah, he
would
has
be.
the right vibe.
Yeah.
He just does. You're
He
right.
can do both.
If
yeah.
someone
Oh,
told me that
he's
Harry Styles
great.
really was a god, I'd be like,
I'd believe it.
Yeah, that would totally make sense.
Like he's
That would
walking
be,
among us, but he's a god. Okay.
He
I
really is just like this crazy ethereal presence that we're all just okay.
Good
sure,
vibes.
of course you
Yeah.
exist. I'm not convinced you actually exist. Okay, so you know those like crazy weird conspiracy theories where somebody was like birds are not real. They're all just robots and drones.
Yeah.
Okay, so like is Harry Styles real? We don't know.
I
Probably
Can-
not.
okay,
In fact, I
can
can't.
somebody
He might
write
be a hologram.
Can someone write me fan fiction where Harry Styles is actually like a Greek god or something, and we just don't know? And he
And so was Henry
finally-
Cavill.
He fought. They're all just walking around, and they're gods and goddesses,
really
and we
are.
don't know, and it
know.
makes
Living.
sense.
He's actually like
I thought-
5,000 years old.
Henry
Oh my
Harry Styles is actually Aphrodite.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
I can see that.
That feels so right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep.
He does help a lot of people get engaged at his shows, so it would
He
make
does.
sense.
And then like makes fun of them too.
That sounds right. I know
Who was
stuff
it?
about her.
Who was it that somebody got engaged at their show and they're like, I hope it works out better for Miley Cyrus. She was like, I hope it works out better for you than me.
That is so
Okay, I love that though.
Yeah.
Okay, why is Miley Cyrus like Dionysus, the goddess of wine? and
Yeah,
parties?
that
Oh
that
my
makes
God,
sense too.
yes.
100%.
I love that.
I would love to party with her. Like, I don't think I could handle
Oh,
her
yeah.
being in my life full time, but like
No.
to just have some night with her where we just like I just live with her.
I
and
couldn't
see
keep
what her
up,
Yeah,
but I
is.
would love to
Be in
do
her
it one
presence
time.
and absorb the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just like, who
I
are
love
you?
it.
This is crazy. See, if someone told me she
Oh my
was a
God.
god, I'd be like, probably.
Makes
that
sense.
sounds
Yeah.
right. That seems appropriate.
We need
That's
to write
his word.
this. This is going to be the next big thing. It's going to be a series, and
Beyonce,
it's celebrities
Harry
as
Styles,
gods.
Henry Cavill, Miley Cyrus, actual gods and goddesses of our current world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else might be actually one.
I'm
Okay,
trying to
let's
think
see.
of who would be the villains in mythology, but
Ooh.
that might be too controversial.
Mel
Like, do we want to bring that up?
Gibson, Joe
Mel
Rogan.
Gibson.
Am I wrong though?
No.
Remember his crazy tirade
Absolutely
on his
not.
voicemails that went off?
Oh
Amber
my
Heard.
God.
Guys, I was just somebody needs to shut me up.
What's the
The
guy?
Kardashians would be like all of the different traps that you find in Daedalus's maze, and you like run into each of the
Yes.
Kardashians. And they're like,
Oh my God,
you
it's
go
so
this way,
perfect.
it's the wrong way.
God, that's
Okay.
okay.
So hear me out. Megan Fox is for sure like Medusa
Yeah.
in the
I
good
can
way.
see that. I can see that.
I can see that.
In like the best way because
Yeah.
I love it.
She'd probably
Yeah.
love to get
I
that
just-
role. She's like, yeah,
She would
Like
own
I
it.
think that's great.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
She
looked
fits.
fabulous
well,
doing
it's
it.
probably just because of Jennifer's body that comes to mind,
That
but
makes
maybe
a lot
not.
of sense.
I don't
That's
know.
enough.
I mean,
She's
Megan
boy.
Fox
She's
can
gonna-
also be Cersei, who's living on her island and turns
Oh.
everybody, all
Yeah.
the men into pigs. Like that
Right.
seems like the right vibe
She
for me.
gives such fierce vibes. that,
Yeah.
like she could be the biggest cinnamon roll, and I would still be like, no, she'll cut your head off because she just the vibes from her are just so aggressive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In a great way. I kind of love her.
Yeah. Respect.
Who's the comedian that does the like? Is it like Billy on the Street?
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Must be
Billy Eichner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he just like has that like yelling energy. I feel like he would be one of the villains, even though like I don't think he's a villainous person in real life, but like I could just
no, he's got that energy. You're not wrong.
But I don't really know enough of the villains to give it an exact fan cast.
Yeah.
Also, Oscar
Hilton.
Oscar Isaac. I don't know if you guys are watching Moon Knight, but I am obsessed with Moon Knight, and Oscar Isaac is just everything I love in life, and I feel like he gives off Zeus vibes, or like King of the God vibes, whoever that is. Like, he's been in a lot. He's in Star Wars, I think, too.
He was.
But Google him, please look at pictures. Just like everybody look at pictures of Oscar Isaac right at this very moment in time. Like, I need everyone to do that.
I can see it in
and
my
then
head.
tell me that he doesn't give off like King of the Gods vibes.
Absolutely. He's a hottie.
You're definitely.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's that smirk. It's like a downward smirk with like forward eyes.
How dare you?
He's gonna get you.
Wow.
You're welcome. Yeah. I'm glad I can give this knowledge to everybody.
I love him so much. I haven't even seen the show yet.
Yeah, me too.
In the show, I don't want to spoil it. I'm not gonna say anything. There's something very specific about his character that fits in with this conversation, but we can have it off air because
I'll watch it
it's so good.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna watch this, but is this a Marvel thing? I'm probably gonna watch it.
It is. It's Marvel. It's a new.
It'll get put on the TV.
Disney Plus show.
Got you. Yeah.
And
sure I'll watch it.
This actually fits in really well with this episode because Moon Knight leans into Egyptian mythology, and the superhero Moon Knight he works for the god of something. I need to look this up so that way I can talk about it. But it's based off of Egyptian mythology, and you see all of the Egyptian gods and goddesses at some point, and they all have these altars, I guess, or they have a person that they use in real life who they like go into and possess, I guess. That's the best way to explain it.
Like a vessel.
So, yes, a vessel. So that way they can go and, like, monitor the world and, like, watch humanity.
Cool.
So that's the basic of Moon Knight, and I'm trying to figure out what god he works for, but it's not coming up, but I'll let you know.
It's okay. All right.
Oh, okay, Khonshu, that's the name of the god the Egyptian moon god. That's why he's called Moon Knight.
Cool.
So yeah, perfect way to wrap things up. Oscar Isaac is the king of all the gods in real life, and a hottie. I'm just gonna believe that
after seeing this. Absolutely. All right,
we did it.
Okay, guys, I think we did the thing again.
We did the thing.
We're all set. We did the thing. Okay, so follow us on all the things, the Instagrams and Twitters and all that junk at Emo Girls Guide. And may your day be blessed with main character energy.
Main character energy.
Wow, we have no energy.
Energy.
Energy.